Good morning, everyone out there in the world today. I don't know how I'm doing, but I hope everyone else out there is doing all right. Heck, I don't know. I don't even know where I am this morning. I just know it exists somewhere in space and time. All right, on to the news stories today. Let's see. UPS store massive animatronic seahorse earns world record. Well, I love to see everybody out there in the world doing their own little world records and different stuff, so I figured this needed a little bit of attention, honestly. There it is right there, little animatronic seahorse. The Guinness World Record announced the UPS store's nautical-themed float in this year's Rose Parade earned the record for the largest animatronic fish. Now, personally, I didn't know a seahorse was a fish. I don't know what it was. I know they're weird, but being weird's okay. At least that's what I'm told. The New Year's Day parade float centerpiece, a massive mechanical seahorse, was confirmed the world record keeper organization measured it at 28 feet by 10 feet 1 inches by 12 feet 3 inches. Yeah. The giant seahorse wired frame and machinery were covered in orange. You know what? I've been around corn for a long time. I've never seen this word before. Latrils? This is the problem with society. Everybody wants to use fancy words. Like, why didn't they just say corn husk or what is latril? You know what? I might actually have to look this word up. What is this word? What? Yeah. Hold on a minute. Look, what is this word? A lentil? Wait, I ain't that dumb, am I? A lentil is a bean or rice. Did I seriously not know that word was lentils? I'm so dumb. Something's wrong with me this morning. The coffee's not working. Okay, it has been a long night. I'm not gonna lie. The past 24 hours in general has not been kind to me. Anyways, lentils, corn husks, mushrooms, and kumquats, orange slices, and roses was what made up this float. I tell you what, something's wrong with the world. I don't know what it is, but it's probably just me. Anyways, on to the next story. Maybe I'll do better. Man, I earn $30K a year just by scooping dog poop. My clients are accused of being lazy, but they truly need my help. That is the headline. Now, this guy looks like a good guy. I trust this guy with more than what but 30K a year. That's not that much depending on the city he lives in. So you could live off that easy in most places. But in large cities, yeah, you not even gonna be scraping by. You're gonna be underneath the table with that. He's turning ST into gold. A UK dad of 4 is turning do into dough by picking up dog do at a side hustle, and he estimates it nets him $32,000 a year. Now, I don't know how long he spends doing this, but most jobs you could make around this and you're not in the sun all day, and I don't know. Anyways, we were stunned that the customers just started rolling. 39-year-old Southwest News Service. Okay. I guess he uses this as like, you know, thingy. Said he was inspired to start a business after the dub pet poo pic in March, blah blah, looks on Instagram at a work scene, blah. Wait. So this man is in Britain, but this craze started in the US. Now, yeah, this is probably very common because people are lazy. People are so lazy they'd pay you to do almost anything nowadays. Oh. He has a base of regular 35 customers. I wonder if any of those, I mean, I don't know. I do have 15 customers on Wednesday, 20 on Saturday. So what does he do? Does he just like follow them around, or like does he go to like particular places like, hey, the neighbor's dog keeps crapping on my lawn and I don't want to get it up, so I'll pay you to come by once a day and pick up all the stuff lying around. Like, is that how it works? Or does he just have a bag like walking behind a dog? These are questions I want to know, and I need to know if this article is going to answer them. That he earns around $2,000 per week. Wait a minute. $2,000 per week? What? Per week? He said $32,000 a year. $60 per hour. He must only work 2 days a week. Wait a minute. Let me do this. Ain't mathing to me. Wait a minute. Hold on. Okay. Hold on a minute. He said 2,680 times 4. That nets him $10,000 a month. Now let's time that times 12. That is $128,000. Now I will do this job for $128,000. Heck, I would do it for probably 80. Especially if he's only working 2 days a week, maybe 3. But this man said he was making $30,000 a year. Now, even with taxes, let's do that times 0.30. Let's say he's got 30% taxes on him. That's $38,592 a year in taxes. So that would make it to where he's making over 99K a year. Well, I don't know. I don't want to do the math in my head. I hate doing math. I can do it, but I ain't doing it. But he's making over $90,000 a year if these numbers are correct. Now somebody's lying here. Somebody. I don't know who, but somebody. Anyways, I don't know. Let's see. Newbie estimate, blah, blah, more pickup. 10-hour shift. Than he can for 10-hour shift of construction. Although the job, blah, blah. Okay, so this is what he does. Is he's saying he has to pick up 14 pieces per garden. That means, let me do that up because I know some people, you know. That means that he basically goes to specific places and picks up stuff. So he ain't like following them around or anything. Which, thank goodness, that would be kind of weird. It wouldn't be the weirdest thing I've ever done personally, but on a scale of 1 to weird, it's pretty weird doing that. But he says it takes him 10 to 15 minutes per garden. He has to make sure there's no traces left. You know, you got to do a good job. I can be driving around for 4 hours, blah, blah. Spend only 3 hours picking, so... He has to drive as far as 50 miles to dispose. I wonder how he disposes of it now. Now that I know how the job works, how does he dispose of it? Because let's just say he's got 10 pounds. That's a little bit too much to spread around in one little garden area. And plus, would you want to do it in a garden area? Well, these are the questions I ask myself because I'm curious. Well, you know what? If people do claim, the trolls are claiming humans are now too lazy. Well, to be honest with you, I ain't got no defense for it, but I don't know. You either got too much time or too much money. If you got too much money, you're going to outsource the labor you don't want to do. So, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, he does it to help them. Like, bro, you can say anything you want. A lot are on crutches, so it's hard for them to pick up the mess. We do this to help them. Yeah, if you were doing this just to help them, you wouldn't charge them. But since you charge them and you make a profit, yeah, you're not helping them. Now, if this was a non-profit to help out the elderly or something, I'd be like, yeah, you're doing this to help them, but you're making a profit. Now, there's no shame in making a profit. In fact, that's what the economy's run off of, is goods and services. This man is doing a good service. So, yeah, can't judge him. Customer Peter Fisk, it is Fisk, huh? I don't know. 48 has been using Pet's Poo pickup since December because he has a broken leg. With the way my leg is, I'll be using him for the rest of the year. At least. This is what I always tell people, is there's money everywhere as long as you're a little bit creative. Now this man here is 100% doing a service that is 100% necessary, whether you like it or not. And this man is making money, whether you like it or not. With so many people doing stuff, especially turning to crime, I just always look at them like there's always a better way. And there's always stuff you can do. In fact, normally doing stuff like this is way less work than doing the illegal stuff. So I'm always saying, do something like this. You know, money is in places a lot of people wouldn't even expect. Anyways, on to the next story. Now, this is for everybody out there with different troubles. Now, I personally know people who are going through the hair loss thing. There ain't no shame in it. In fact, you should wear that balding head with like honor and keep your head up high, because it just means you got high testosterone's all it means. Yeah. But anyways, if you really self-conscious about it, you know, if you mix natural sweetener with Rogaine, can boost hair growth, study finds. I don't know about you, but I know somebody that might be desperate enough to try this. Now, if you try this, wait a week, probably a month, but I honestly want to know, how good does this work out? Does it work? A new way to beat back the bald. While over 80% of men and nearly half of women experience significant hair loss, going bald isn't completely inevitable. If they had a cure for baldness, all rich people would have hair. They can say it's not inevitable, but everybody knows what they see with their eyes. One of the most popular treatments, I don't know how to spell that. Metaboxy? I don't know. Commonly sold as Rogaine, is proven to stimulate follicles. Recently, research finds that adding an extra ingredient to over-the-counter foam can give... What is it? Tresses? Tresses? Okay. What is this word? I need to just start looking up words constantly. A sweet boost. Hold on. Why would they even use this word? This doesn't even make sense to me. A long lock of woman's hair. Why? Okay, was this written by an AI? Or a person that just wants to use like fancy words just because they can use fancy words? Doesn't this like thing like, isn't it geared more towards men because 80% of men experience hair loss? You know what? This was either written by an AI or a woman. Who? Rachel Sachs. Rachel, you don't have to use fancy words. Okay? You just don't have to. In fact, your article will appeal to more people the more straightforward language you use. Now, you don't have to take what I say seriously, but do a little bit of trial and error. Write one article using straightforward language, write another article using fancy words, and see which one gets more traffic. I don't know. Most professionals I know and people at the top of their fields and stuff, if you use a bunch of fancy language with them, they're going to be like, speak English. And you know what? The English don't have to be perfect. You know why? Because English is a living language. You know what that means? It means you can make up a word right now and it won't be wrong. So, I don't know. I'm getting off on a tangent here. They even use right here, monoxide, whatever. And it's like, you already introduced this word right here, which is basically Rogaine, which is what everybody knows it as. Commonly sold as that, Rogaine. But instead of using Rogaine, Later on in the article, they use whatever this word is, which I don't understand why you'd do that, personally. I'm just here picking this. You know, an editor should have caught all this, honestly, in my opinion, but, you know. Blah, blah, FDA approves for a male to female pattern baldness. It does not always get to the root of the problem, literally. See, this is good right here. The root of the problem. This is exactly what you need to do, is you need to use, you know, this kind of language and pun and everything like that. But, I don't know. You see it more and more when it comes to, like, news articles. They want to use, like, really out there language and everything. It's just like, use just plain English, you know? You need to appeal to as wide an audience as you possibly can, because, you know, that's who's gonna, like, read it. They applied the mixture to mice with hair loss, which prompted hair follicles to re-enter the growth phase. Blah, blah, the first stage of new hair. See, the one thing that always bothers me here is whenever they test out new everything, they always do it on mice. And it says right here, mice with hair loss. Now, in the wild, most mice that I know of don't experience hair loss. At least to the extent humans do. Like, maybe they do, like, have some sort of hair loss, but I don't know. Maybe I just ain't seen an old mouse in the wild. But I've seen hamsters and all sorts of stuff like that, and maybe I don't know. But, like, I wonder if these mice were, like, genetically engineered to lose hair at a certain age. But then wouldn't that, like, mess up the overall experiment if, like, the mice are genetically, like, predisposed to, like, have hair loss? Because then, like, since, like, you can't perfectly predict, like, DNA, like, wouldn't that mean that you couldn't have a control group at that point? It'd be impossible. But am I just an idiot? I don't know. I feel like I'm just an idiot. Rogaine and the topical foam containing right here. Rogaine, the topical foam. So I'm guessing this right here is the, like, main ingredient in Rogaine foam or whatever. I don't know. I just feel like it's unnecessary. I don't know. Maybe I'm just an idiot. Not only do they sometimes trouble soaking it into the scalp, but they can also fully dissolve in water. Blah, blah, blah. I don't know. I do think it's important, though, to mention all the stuff happening. You know, baldness is something that needs to be cured. One scalp at a time. But, you know, what the heck do I know? Anyways, on to the next story. I eat up to 100 live bugs a day. I love being the master of their destiny. How they massage my tongue. Now, I don't know what to say about this, to be honest with you. First of all, I don't believe this is worthy enough to write an article about. But I do believe this is the problem with a lot of people, is they feel the need to be a master of destiny. I'll be honest with you, I've made thousands, probably hundreds of thousands of plans in my life. None of them have worked out. Not a one. And most of the best stuff that happened to me, I ain't planned. We just a leaf on the wind and watching us soar. We soar inside. Yeah, I watched Serenity last night. Anyways, I don't know. Wait, what is this news article even about? Imagine a low-calorie protein pattern. The French cheese, blah, blah, mealworms are blah, blah. I don't know. I don't believe this is something worthy enough to write an article about. If you haven't gagged yet, brace yourself. The 26-year-old scuffs down heaps of mealworms, roaches, blah, blah, blah. Well, I hope the bugs you are consuming are from proper places, because I don't know if you know this, but bugs eat like eggs from other bugs and lay eggs around other bugs and stuff. So don't pick up bugs from a strange place and consume them. That's how you get infections and parasitic infections as well. Personally, I don't know. I hope the world does not have too many people like this. Personally, because people who have to be in control are annoying to be around. Your life will get so much better if you just flow with it and don't try to control every little thing. But that's just me. Anyways, on to the next story. Alright. Miami OnlyFans star rips Florida candidate sin tax. Now, personally, I believe that everybody should have to pay their fair share of taxes. I pay a lot in taxes, honestly. I know a lot of people who pay a lot of taxes. But we shouldn't make special categories. If you make $30,000 a year, let's just say scooping dog poop or on OnlyFans, then you should have to pay the exact same amount in taxes, in income tax to the government, no matter what. We shouldn't discriminate on how people make their money if they make their money legally. With term limit Governor Ron DeSantis' tenure coming to an end, where's my mouse at? Coming to an end on January 2027, the race to replace him officially underway. The Republican side, Trump-backed Barron Douglas, is running against Davy investor James Fishback. Okay, there is no way it's got to be James Fishback, right? Is there a company named Davy Investor? I don't know. Obviously, this article was skewed more towards this person because they gave him, I don't know, who has already countered plenty of controversy early in this campaign. I don't know who I can't even speak right now. I don't know who is proposing this so-called sin tax. If it's probably the Republican. Let's be honest with ourselves. It's definitely the Republican. I'll be honest with you. If I was Trump or anybody and they proposed something as preposterous as a sin tax, especially since in the United States, church and state is supposed to be separated, they should immediately be thrown out of whatever office they have or be disqualified. Personally, this is preposterous. And to be completely honest with you, I consider a speeding ticket on the road theft. I consider it extortion, personally. I always considered that extortion. Now, if you speed or drunk drive or whatever, you should lose your license. But you should not have to pay a monetary fine for speeding, littering, or whatever. You are either a danger on the road or you're not. And I don't believe we should fine people money because they sped. Take the license away if they a danger on the road. But it's extortion to pull somebody over, demand money, and then if they don't pay it, have consequences against them. If they don't pay, that is extortion. A speeding ticket is extortion. This sin tax, because they get their income from a place you personally do not like, is extortion in my mind. I don't care how you make your money. You should be taxed the same amount, whether you do it on OnlyFans or whether you make it going to work at a lumber mill. I don't care how. You're being taxed the same amount, period. Now let's see. This week in an interview with Pastor Joe Webben? I don't know. I'm bad at pronouncing names. Who has been described as a Christian nationalist. Fishback made headlines and announcing that if he elected, he'd impose a 50% tax on OnlyFans creators in the state of Florida. Now, personally, this is disgusting in my mind. Absolutely disgusting. First of all, if you a creator on this specific website, let's be honest with ourselves. You probably don't have a lot of opportunities in a lot of other places. Everybody knows of the outliers making $1 million a month, $300,000 a month. A majority of these people on these websites are not making great amount of money. Personally, I know this for a fact. I've seen the metrics, because if you can make money somewhere, I've at least looked at it. And I believe this is very disgusting in my mind. Now, again, I believe everybody should pay their fair share, because we all need roads, we need bridges, we need schools. Even if you don't have children, I believe a well-educated society is a good society. So even if you don't have children, you should still fund the school, because if you need to educate other people's kids, because they're going to be in public with you one of these days. I'm telling you. They're going to be in public no matter what. You know? They're going to be in public. Now, this 50% tax is 100% disgusting. If you are a so-called OnlyFans creator in Florida, you're going to pay a 50% tax. The state of whatever so-called blah blah. God dang it. The earned via the online degeneracy platform, he told Webb, the money will be used to fund our education system, will be used to fund crisis pregnancy centers, will be used to fund the first of its kind mental health SAR, whatever. For men in particular, like, if you're going to fund them, at least let it go to women's stuff. This is disgusting. This man is going to lose his election because of crap like this. Now, even if he personally believed this in his mind, he's going to lose, because I don't know. These people drive me up the wall. You know, it's like, stop trying to control other people. The name of the game is not to control other people. The name of the game is to get other people to be informed and make correct decisions on their own. And if they can't, then they get to go in this place and I get to go in this place. Stop trying to control people, and stop trying to put your mental worldview onto other people. It's so annoying and crazy to me that we should have this conversation constantly. Societal ills. Well, believe it or not, I would actually take living next door to an OnlyFans model to living next door to you. Because at least if I play some music that the OnlyFans model doesn't like, I don't have to hear about it. But if I play some music you don't like, I'm probably going to get like a rude note in my mailbox, which, you know, that's what the trash can's for. But I don't want to have to see it. I don't want to have to hear it. Stop trying to control other people. Personally, I don't know. I'm so tired of everything. Here's this guy right here. Again. Oh, wait. What the hell's going on? Oh, wait. No. No. Anyways. That was going to pull something up that probably would have been bad if it would have pulled up. Probably. Who knows? I don't. I didn't let it come up. All right. Well, I probably went on too much on that, so I'm going to just go to the next story before I get drove up the wall. I don't know. It's been a long couple days, so that's the reason why everything's just a little bit more played out today, I should say. The world is just swirling around the drain, I feel like sometimes. All right, next story. What does Texas consider manageable student loan debt? Now, this is something that no matter what you believe is a problem, in my opinion, as far as student loan debt's concerned, because the rate on a lot of student loan debt is absolutely outrageous. It absolutely is. It's actually quite sickening to me to see at the rate that some people are what's it called? Whenever you the interest rate on some of the I have literally seen student loan debt with a 33% interest rate. And I'm sitting there thinking, even if you declare bankruptcy, you can't get out of student loan debt. That is horrible. This is absolutely insane. And you know what? I don't know. It's absolutely insane to me that you cannot declare bankruptcy and get out of student loan debt. Oh, let's see. Texas Higher Education Authority recently boasted that 95% of Texas graduates have manageable or no debt when they leave college, which is absolutely fantastic to hear. In 2023, 370,000 students graduated from Texas higher education institutions, and the state aims to graduate 550,000 people in 2030. By 2030. What does manageable debt mean? The Texas Higher Education Coordination Board defines manageable debt as the debt-to-income ratio below 10% after graduation. This means student monthly loan payments are less than 10% of their income. Now, if you don't know what 10% means, that means $10 on every $100. That means 10 cents on the dollar. Now, personally, I would be very curious to look at the medium, what's it called? Dang, I literally just said the word a minute ago. Dadgum, what's the word? This is going to drive me up the wall. What is the word? I literally just said it. I just said it. The medium. What is the medium? Interest rate. I got to write that down. I 150% got to write that down. The medium interest rate on a lot of these loans. Because let's just say you have an interest rate of 15%, then you might be paying on this student loan for the next 10 to 15 years. 10 to 15 years paying on a student loan. So, to put that into perspective, let's just say that since you're college educated, you're making, let's say, a minimum of $2,000 a month. Hopefully you making more than that, but let's just say that's what you're making is $2,000 a month. I really hope college educated people are making more personally. So in order to get that, we got to do times 0.1, and that's 10%. That's $200 a month. So let's just say you times that by 12. That's $2,400 a year. Now that is $2,400 that you were never getting back. Let's say you pay that for 10 years, which I know people who have like student loan debts for more than 10 years, but let's just say 10 years. Let's times that, times 10. That's $24,000. Now, that's $24,000 gone out of the economy. And you might be asking yourself, how is that just gone? Most people don't realize, but most student loans are held by 401ks and pensions. Why? Because you can't get out of student loan debt. You can't bankrupt out of it, which means it's an extremely safe investment. So, 401ks and pensions use them as a way to pad their bottom line. So, this $24,000 is going to be used for someone's 401k or pension, which means that money is going to be taken out and consumed, this $24,000. And yeah, if you buy food, shelter, and blah, blah, blah with that. But the thing about it is those are digits already made and gone in the system as far as the stock market and everything else is concerned. This is not a production of anything. It's just going to be consumed, period. That means that you're basically taking current production that young people would make, and it's just going to poof, be gone. Because this young person would have bought a couch, would have bought a house, would have done this, that, the other, which means it's not something good that you want to do. Most college educated people, though, are not making $2,000. They're making, let's just say, at least $4,000. So let's times that times 2. This is $4,000 a month. That's $48,000 over the next 10 years. It's going to be just gone and everything. This is just gone. This is waste. This is completely just useless. Out of the system. But the thing about it is, 10% is way too high. Extremely too high. Way too high. I don't know. Student loans, which use 2023 wage information, 56% of students who earn bachelor's degrees from public 4 years colleges have manageable debt. 40% have no debt, and 4% have high debt. This 4% right here, these are people who's never going to own a home, who most likely are going to have a family either later in life or not at all. It's just not going to be good. And this 40% right here, these are the people who are going to have kids in their late 20s to mid 30s. So if you're wondering why young people aren't having kids, they can't afford it. Because 40% of people, whenever they graduate college, which again, most people graduate college around 23 to 30 years old, depending on what degree you're getting and blah, 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 blah. And most people have 10 years worth of college debt after they leave college. So let's just say that you're 23 whenever you graduate from college and you have 10 years worth of student loan debt, which, believe it or not, I know people who dropped out of college, did not even get a college degree. And here it is 6 to 7 years later, and they still paying on that debt. And they didn't even get a degree out of it. This happens. 100% this happens. In fact, I would say that if you are in high school right now or college, you probably know at least one person that has dropped out. In fact, I would probably say out of everybody I went to high school with, I'd probably say that 60% of people that I went to high school with went to college, and 30% of that 60% didn't get anything whenever they went. They just got debt because they went for a year or 2 years and they didn't get a degree. And out of that 70% of people who got a degree, they went in wanting to get a 4-year degree and ended up getting an associate's, which is a 2-year degree. Because the debt was either too much, or they just didn't want to be in college, or they just, whatever issues caused things. So let's just say you're 23 when you get out. You got a 4-year degree. You got 10 years of debt. That means, best case scenario, student loans will be gone by 33. Now, you should not have kids and have to pay a student loan, in my opinion. Which, I don't know. We're all messed up. To be complete, you should not be 33 and have student loan debt, in my opinion. You should have student loan debt for the first maybe 5 years after leaving college. We need to subsidize colleges. That way the students don't have to pay as much to go. But you need to get rid of a lot of useless degrees too. The whole system is messed up, in my opinion. I don't know what the best case scenario is. I don't know. The whole thing is just, I don't know. Everything's messed up. What degrees carry the most debt? All degrees demonstrate the value 10 years after the student graduates. 10 years after the student graduates. I don't get this, honestly. So let's just say you get a degree in college. You have to wait 10 years before you see noticeable difference in how much you make. You shouldn't have student debt by 10 years. I don't know. What's the point in getting the degree if you don't see instant results for having it? I don't know. It says the value depends depending on the degree. This right here is something everybody under the age of 20 needs to understand 100% of the time. If you are the value depending on the type of degree, honestly. The highest percent of students with no debt or manageable debt are those with degrees in mathematics. The most easy job to get, honestly, the best job to get if you're going to get a degree, and I actually know somebody, is to go into accounting. So nobody wants to be a tax lawyer. Everybody wants to be a lawyer, a criminal defense lawyer, or this or that. Nobody wants to be a tax lawyer. Now, you're not going to make as much money whenever you graduate, but 5 years after you graduate, whenever you get well established with the company, the sky's the limit. A tax lawyer, I know a friend that's a tax lawyer. I pay him. He makes bank. If you want to be an accountant or a tax lawyer, managing people's money, ooh. And you know what? Once you manage, once they get comfortable with you managing their money, they not going nowhere. It's a steady income forever. Tax lawyer. I'm telling you, anything to do with money. It's hard to get started because they got to trust you with their money. But once you established and you got your name out there, it's some money. Right here. Those with zero or manageable debt were those with art degrees. With the lowest percentage of students with zero or manageable debt is the students with art degrees. I'll be honest with you, if you wanted to get a degree in graphic design or animation or anything like that, I literally see people with no degrees making more than people with 4-year degrees in graphic design and animation. I know it's not a very popular opinion to have, but at the end of the day, your portfolio matters and a piece of paper doesn't. It's the best thing I can say is if you are going to go into college for anything to do with art, pretty pictures matter. You know, pretty pictures matter. And black and white paper don't. It just don't. In fact, I would not suggest going into school any way, shape, or form for art. I just don't know what to do. Oh, it even says, what about those who didn't graduate? This is actually something I'm very curious about because I know a lot of people who didn't graduate. The data insightful that doesn't include Texans, blah, blah, leaving school for some college with no degree. 34% of students don't graduate from a 4-year university. See, that actually lines up with what I know. See, this article was written in Texas, and I don't live in Texas. So, and I was spot on. I said 30% of people that I personally knew, these are people I know. I personally know these people did not graduate. They have student loan debt, and they did not graduate. And here it's saying 34%. If you did not graduate from a school, in my opinion, you should not have debt. They should just cancel it. Because it either means one of two things. One, the school did not vet you properly before you were accepted, which I think is BS. Or two, you did not see the value in continuing your education at that particular school. If you did not receive a good or a service from the money you put into it, then it should be gone. And you know what? I think the school should have to pay the loan, because somebody's got to pay for the debt that was accrued in your name. And if you can't pay it back because you don't have a degree, then you know what? The school should have to pay it back. And because it's the school's fault for accepting you or for not allowing you to continue to get your degree in some way, shape, or form. I don't know though. This whole thing I just know so many people that have student loan debt and stuff, and it just, I don't know. Let's see. 34% of students who don't graduate 4-year university with 6 years, blah, blah. And 56% don't graduate from a 2-year college in the same period. Both numbers have remained constant in the past several years. See, this right here is deeply troubling to me. Let me click off this. %56 did not graduate from a 2-year college. 2 years. Now, this is basically the lowest form of a degree you can get, is an associate's degree, which is a 2-year degree. And 56% of people dropped out. That means that, one, these people were just not intelligent enough to go to college, or they did not see the value in continuing their education at that particular institution. Both cases, that's absolutely egregious in my opinion. It is horrible to hear that. I don't know. Everything's so messed up nowadays, though. This is Texas, but to be honest with you, since this right here number is something that I personally have seen in my life, I can agree that this number probably is somewhat accurate. And with a failure rate of 50%, we have a severe problem. Because I guarantee you, out of this 56% of non-graduates from a 2-year university or college, these are community college people, most likely, by the way, while the 34% are universities. But a more than 50% failure rate from community colleges and everything, you have got a real problem. Because these people probably have anywhere between $5,000 to $25,000 worth of debt from being in there for 1.5 years. Who knows? But I guarantee you they probably have around $10,000 worth of debt. At least 20% of these people do. Because I personally know people who have dropped out in a year who had $10,000 to $15,000 worth of student loan debt. And it took them years to pay it off. I don't know. I don't think anybody knows. The reason why this is such a bad problem is because so many things are propped up by the whole student loan debt thing. There's the reason why, like, I see it in the news from time to time. They're like, oh, we're gonna like have student loan forgiveness, and that's never gonna happen. It's not gonna happen in a million years. It's not gonna happen because investment firms have trillions of dollars invested in student loans. Because, like it or not, student loan debt has an interest rate, and they're making 10% interest every single year on that debt. They're making money on it. And as long as somebody's making money, it's not going away. It's not going to be fixed. You're just, I don't know what to do. Nobody knows what to do. That's the reason why this is such a real problem. But eventually this bubble's going to go pop. It's going to have to. And it's not going to be pretty when it does. It's just not going to be. That's just me, though. I don't know. This is just making me angry. Anyways, that's it for today. That's it for today. I don't know. The whole world's just spinning down the toilet. That's all it is nowadays. I'll see you maybe.